Politics is always like a pendulum that's swinging. So sometimes the left is more in power, sometimes the right is more in power. I think what's been going on is for the past at least 2 decades in the West, we've been experiencing a leftward shift and we've gone too far left. And as a result, like everything looks far right when you're so far left. It's like
that in the European Parliament as well.
Yeah, there you go. So what I'd like to see though, in order for us to move past this constant swinging back and forth is just more of an inviting tone. Like, hey, these ideas are bad, but the people are not bad. And if we can stop attacking people and start attacking problems, then I think we can get to a more centrist place.
I'm new to politics. A year ago, I was just a YouTuber doing pranks. But now I understand from the inside, like, it's a very hard game because you can never win. You always upset people. You always divide people.
Look, politics matters, but I think people get so lost in the matrix of news and headlines and shock and outrage that they forget ultimately most of that stuff is actually not affecting you very directly. What does definitely affect you very directly is the connections with the other humans that you're experiencing in your day-to-day life. All I see is politicians who are not serving their people. The European leadership's not serving the European people. The majority of Israelis don't approve of what Netanyahu is doing, bombing all these kids. They can't seem to figure out any kind of calculus that doesn't result in more war. If you're getting us into more wars, fuck that. That's not good leadership.
And the United States caused 100 wars the last 200 years.
Yeah. You know what it is? It's this colonial mindset that is being hidden under the guise of defense. I think the whole Putin is trying to take over the world is Hitler stuff. I think it's way overblown. I think it's ridiculous. But I could see how it's appealing because it gives Europe a common enemy. You guys are divided until someone tries to conquer you. And then that gives European politicians a reason to consolidate power.
We need to talk about the elephant in the room here.
Oh shit, there's an elephant in the room? I didn't even notice it.
Like I found about you from Elon Musk repost, and you probably found about me from Elon Musk repost. He reposts 150 posts a day. He put out tweets every 10 minutes. Like, how this is possible? I love Elon Musk. He's my childhood hero. But the only problem that I have with Elon Musk sometimes is that, who are you?
I'm Kaizen. Oh, you want to know more? Okay, cool. So, hey, I'm Kaizen, and I am, I guess, a political commentator and cultural commentator now. It's interesting because I'm actually at a transition point in my life where I've just started speaking about a lot of what I saw in the world that I was upset about, a lot of the media manipulation and lying in America, a lot of what was going on with the Democratic Party last year. And I was a lifelong Democrat, grew up in New York. I'm Black, surprise. I live in LA. I went to Harvard. I worked in the tech industry. So I was super blue the whole way. And it was honestly only until last year that I started paying attention. And I realized there was a lot of stuff that's functional about the Democratic Party and a lot of stuff that I just couldn't stand for. So I started speaking about it on social media. Didn't really expect it to get the reception that it has been, but people have really been resonating with the clarity and the calm. I think even if you're not politically aligned with where I'm coming from, I don't approach things with a hostile tone. And we're all exhausted. I think people just want some calm, rational discourse, and that's what I'm trying to bring to the table, irrespective of where you are on the political spectrum. So that's who I am, and that's what I'm doing.
Interesting. I have lots of questions about this, but one very interesting aspect about you is the word nuance. What does that fucking mean?
Yeah, what does that fucking mean? So let's actually clarify what I am and what I'm not. I'm not neutral. And I'm nuanced, not neutral. And I think that's really important because, you know, I think there's been this assumption when we listen to the news, like CNN or New York Times or BBC, The Guardian, that, oh, we're just getting neutral fact-based reporting. There's no spin. They're just reporting objective reality. And one of the things I've realized is that there is no such thing as reporting objective reality because objective reality is observed by subjects. So everything is subjective. That's why we call it a news story. And when it came to the media, it wasn't that they were lying by saying false facts. That's not how media bias or manipulation or subjectivity works. Instead, it's how you arrange the facts to present a story. And that's why we call it a news story. So my approach to call it sense making, just helping people make sense of headlines, is I'm trying to extract the details that matter on both sides to help people arrive at a conclusion without hiding the conclusion that I've arrived at. And that's where the nuance is. Because oftentimes what will happen is people will present a very one-sided version of a story, and that's not nuanced. Nuance requires that you give both sides some treatment. And I try to guide people into how to think, not so much what to think, but I have a point of view and I have beliefs about what is right and wrong and how America needs to operate and how humanity needs to operate. So I don't hide that at all.
Well, one of the reasons that I wanted to do this conversation is because I love your clarity of thought. Do you think this is your superpower?
One of them.
Tell me about this. This comes natural to you, but it not. You need a lot more research, or this is easy for you and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. You know, I think the clarity of thought comes from calmness of emotion, and I've always had a gift for speaking and very cerebral, intellectual person. But I think it's honestly only in the last year and a half that I've gotten this level of clarity. And part of the reason is, I'm also a life coach by trade. I'm transitioning out of that career, but that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years. And I'm someone who just loves growth. I mean, my name Kaizen means evolution. So I'm always growing. I'm always looking at myself, reflecting on my thoughts. Why do I believe these things? Why do I act the way that I do? Did a lot of coaching and healing and plant medicine and all these different things. And that was a several year journey that resulted in me coming out, just being a lot more clear on who I am, clear on my beliefs, and clear on my view of the world. Because the more clear you are on who you are, the more clearly you can see the world. And I came out of that healing journey and that spiritual process just much more able to see how people were behaving and why they were behaving that way, and much more able to see that same propensity for believing just lies in myself, and able to see when I'm being dishonest, or see when I'm being confused, or see when I'm unclear. So it's something that I've both have as a talent, but I've really cultivated it over time. And I never was a political person. It's not like I had like a bunch of facts and I just knew everything about politics. Like if you ask me about anything that happened prior to 2024, I'm probably not your guy. Like I'm not some political historian. And I also don't think that's what people want right now. I think what people want is real people who are authentic and honest about their perspective and not hiding it.
Authenticity is the currency of 2025 or maybe 2026 and onwards.
Yeah, I mean, I think authenticity is just going to skyrocket like Bitcoin, man, because there's so much fake shit around. Right? There's like so much fakeness. And now we're adding AI, and I love AI. AI has actually enabled my whole life. But with everything being more artificial and more online, it's hard to tell what's real. So I think that's part of why people resonate with what I'm saying, is because I just keep it real. And I do my research. I do a lot of research on anything that I'm putting out in the public, because I really take it seriously. How the ideas that I'm implanting in people's heads. So I want to make sure I'm coming as correctly as I can.
You are a Grok type of guy, or you are a ChatGPT kind of guy?
Dude, ChatGPT is so woke. Don't use ChatGPT for political stuff, man. It's so woke. Like I use Grok mostly.
I use sometimes ChatGPT, but I say it answer more dead serious and more like Grok. Don't do blah 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 and political correct things. Yeah. I prompt it to be less.
Yeah. Well, let me show you how woke ChatGPT is. Okay. So I was making this video about this woman who's a pro-Palestine activist who just got her visa revoked in the United States. It's a big controversy over here. And she's a Muslim woman, right? And I was making a thumbnail for the YouTube video. And the thumbnail was supposed to be her getting arrested. Like she's a Muslim woman and she's getting arrested. ChatGPT wouldn't even make the thumbnail. it wouldn't make the thumbnail because it was like, oh, that's offensive. I was like, what's offensive? She's a Muslim woman. Like, there's nothing offensive about her being what she is. So I experienced
But Grok will make that image.
Yeah, of course Grok will make it. I mean, ChatGPT's, at least right now, its picture function is better. Its image generation is better. That's why I wanted to use ChatGPT.
And it got very well recently. With the new update, it became...
Yeah. Are you playing with like Studio Ghibli stuff? Did you see that?
No, I don't want. Tell me about it.
Do you know Hayao Miyazaki? Okay, so Hayao Miyazaki is this Japanese filmmaker, and you've probably seen some of his stuff, even if you don't recall it. It's like Howl's Moving Castle and Spirited Away, like these really beautiful anime styles, like very classic. You know, it's like takes a lot of time to hand detail it. And ChatGPT, like a week ago, came out with a function where it could recreate all of that in seconds. So people were like recreating images of like Donald Trump or famous memes in his style. So yeah, the image function on ChatGPT is really good, but ChatGPT it's so politically correct. So Grok is not nearly as politically correct. It still has some of it in there, but ChatGPT is like, anytime I ask it about politics, I'm like, oh, you clearly have a leftist bias.
Okay, interesting. You spoke about the leftist bias. Let's talk about the left and right. So I was a candidate for the European elections for in my country, and I basically said, guys, let's stop fucking ourselves and just be divisive, like left and right, and like attacking each side, because this divides the people and like results to, I don't know, Tesla's being burned, or it results to like not cool things when we are divided. It's when you divide this, it's a difficult situation because I'm a leftist, you are divided, you are a leftist, right, and the only problem that I have with Elon Musk sometimes is that sometimes he's encouraging this sometimes divisiveness, because now he's saying the left is doing this, the left is attacking this. So I love Elon Musk. He's my childhood hero, but like it's interesting to talk about this, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a really great point. Look, because I think the way I view it is politics is always like a pendulum that's swinging. Right. So sometimes the left is more in power. Sometimes the right is more in power. Sometimes we're too far to the left and we need to correct more toward the right. Sometimes we're too far to the right and we need to correct more to the left. Right. So if we think of, for example, throughout the 20th century, there were several periods in Europe where Europe was too far to the right. And that's why we saw like Stalin and Hitler and some of these like far right authoritarians. And we needed to swing things more back toward the left, which brings things more toward the middle. I think what's been going on is for the past, like, at least 2 decades in the West, we've been experiencing a leftward shift, and we've gone too far left. And as a result, like, everything looks far right when you're so far left. It's like having normal immigration.
The European Parliament as well.
Yeah, there you go. So the whole West, I heard about this France, like they banned a political opposition. I was like, this is crazy. And I'm someone who's like, okay, I think there's truth and there's falsehood. And right now, the right, more toward the right, is more toward truth. And I agree that a lot of people who are aligned with the political right are, in an effort to cure this extreme leftism, are creating more division. And fundamentally, we need to get better at how we solve problems, not just the problems that we're solving. And if the way that we solve problems is it's constantly a war of one side versus another, then what's going to happen is we're going to go from far left to far right eventually. We're just going to swing it back the other direction. Now, as far as Elon, like personally, I like that he definitely sees the truth of we're too far left, and I think he's trying to correct that. And I agree sometimes the way that he and Trump go about things could be more graceful and just a little bit more like, hey, this doesn't have to be like a crusade against these crusaders. And I think it's important to have truth at all costs. What I'd like to see, though, in order for us to move past this constant swinging back and forth, is just more of an inviting tone. Like, hey, these ideas are bad, but the people are not bad. The beliefs are bad, but the people are not bad. And if we can stop attacking people and start attacking problems, then I think we can get to a more centrist place. And that's where I think Elon is. I think he's more of a centrist. I don't think he's some like conservative or whatever. But who knows? I don't know him personally. I've just seen him online. But yeah, I agree. Like it's a fundamental division, because you know what will happen is like the same way that you treat people when you're in power is how they will treat you when you're out of power. So important. So everything I see, sometimes I see, you know, one of my concerns right now, I think Trump's been doing a fantastic job overall, but there are some things I think he's made a mistake on. I think one of the things is how he's been managing some of the deportations. It's just, not only is the tone very abrasive and just hostile a lot of the time, I think people on the right just excuse everything they see Trump do because, oh, well, Biden did it even worse. Like Biden had an open border and Biden tried to force shots on us and Biden. It's like, yes, that's true. Biden did do a whole bunch of awful things, and that's why it's definitely better that we have Trump in office. And at the same time, we can't justify mistakes on the right because the left made mistakes too. We're never going to get out of there. And fundamentally, I don't really think this is about right versus left. This is about people versus governments. This is about the masses versus people who are controlling us. And a lot of what I see in the left versus right stuff is actually just like, honestly, just culture wars that are not that important. Like this trans stuff. Like I have a view on trans stuff. I don't want to talk to kids in schools, but ultimately, like how many people have ever met a trans person or are ever going to meet them? It's just not that important. Like we have way bigger existential issues facing civilization, and we're spending so much emotional energy on fighting over what a man and a woman is when we need to elevate this and focus on like the bigger picture stuff that can end civilization for us all.
I agree 100% with this. I was listening on podcast of Naval before, Naval Ravikant. I love this guy. And he was saying that one very interesting point, that actually all these news is that you are listening, they are never going to touch your life. You are listening about things in Ukraine, things in Palestine, things in Africa, all these problems. And because you can have them on your fingerprint and you can see these problems, and we're hardwired to see danger because of evolution, like you start stressing about all this stuff that will never ever affect the normal person life that much. So like if you, like politics force you in a way to be like, to buy into these ideas and stress about them too much. And so, yeah, maybe some, I don't know, as a politician, maybe people should be less involved with politics. I don't know.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, think about it. Like, you know, by the way, I met Naval once before all of this, like 2 or 3 years ago, just outside of a restaurant in LA. Like I was going to go get lunch with a friend and I just ran into him. So it's a funny story. He's brilliant. I really respect him. Yeah, you know, so this Monday, I was recording a video, and I record my videos outside. And I'm loud, right? So sometimes people can hear me. And my neighbor from the next house overheard me talking. And he this is a guy I actually know, right? There's a person, there's a real human. It's not like he saw me on TV and I heard of him. We actually know each other. He comes over to my fence, and it's weird because I'm like, hello? Like he's like peers over my fence. I'm wondering, why are you looking at my fence? And I say, hey, what's up, man? He doesn't acknowledge me. Then he runs into my garage, enters through my garage onto my property. I'm like, whoa, this guy just trespassed and didn't at all announce himself. And then he starts lecturing me about the contents of my video. Apparently he didn't like what I said in my video. And he starts telling me about, what's happening in this country. And I don't know what you heard on Fox News. I don't know what Trump told you. I let this go on for like 20 seconds. And I stop it. I'm going to say, hey, dude, first of all, did you even hear everything that I said? Because we're actually agreeing on a lot of stuff. And second, regardless of what we're talking about, because this is about people on the news and politicians that neither of us have ever met, or probably neither of us are ever going to meet. But the way that you're engaging with me, a real human, your neighbor, is not acceptable. Besides the fact that you just trespassed on my property, you came in without any curiosity, immediately trying to lecture me, throwing around the ideas of Trump supporter and Fox News like they're curse words. And you know what I thought to myself? If the news had been inaccessible and this guy didn't have an internet connection for the last 2 months of his life, would he even notice what was going on in politics? Like, how much is it actually impacting him? So look, politics matters, but I think people get so lost in the matrix of news and headlines and shock and outrage that they forget ultimately most of that stuff is actually not affecting you very directly. What does definitely affect you very directly is the connections with the other humans that you're experiencing in your day-to-day life. So yeah, I think Naval makes a very good point. Like, a lot of this stuff is so removed from you, but where everyone's getting outraged over things that they're not connected to. And if they didn't have a phone, they would never even know what's going on. And that's one of the downsides of being such an interconnected species. We lose a sense of proportion and priority and what actually matters. And we start to dehumanize other people based on what we see happening online. We're ruining our offline relationships. It's terrible.
Politics is I'm new to politics. A year ago, I was just a YouTuber doing pranks. But now I understand from the inside, like probably also Elon understands this, also Trump understands this. It's a very hard game because like you can never win. You always upset people. You always divide people. Every decision, someone will stop getting his funding. Someone will stop. And yes, we can argue. We want to be effective. We want the government to be effective. But it's a very difficult game that you can almost never win, except depends on what we mean by winning as well. But I was also thinking about it's divisive and all the stuff that we said. It's not a very cool game. The rules of the game is almost unbeatable. Like you can do the right thing and then you get killed. It's anyways. So I'll be trying to find some innovative, creative thinking, what's the future of this stuff? Mm-hmm. And as much as I think about it, it's the reason why democracy kind of works is because people are voting and they're okay with what they voted. And they are kind of the majority rules and they will accept it and they have a sense of voting. So I think this kind of system is kind of cool, but it lost the actual point. Once you vote every 4 years, every 5 years, and it's you don't really participate. It's just 2 options that you have and blah, 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 blah. But direct democracy, I think it's now the first time that can really happen. Yeah. And you can organize large numbers of groups of people with applications, with a lot of things to vote on things or to have their opinion heard. And if the majority of people vote for stuff, then you have it's a good but you need to explain to the majority of people what you do. A Nuance video, I agree with you, can never be unbiased. I agree with you. But you can have a video and explain, okay, this is the topic. These are the pros, these are the cons. What do you think? And then it's you leave the choice to them. And I think that system is a lot way cooler. So I don't know. I'm thinking to do this in my country, Cyprus first, as a test. Because I was the most voted person in the European election in my country. And I told them, hi guys, I don't know anything about politics, but I would learn. So I was honest. And I did some cool YouTube stunts and all this stuff that I know how to play with social media. And also I'm myself, which is a superpower nowadays and all this stuff. So using all this leverage that I have in Cyprus, I want to test this, how direct democracy looks like for the first time. And maybe now we're building an app. People are voting what I will vote sometimes in the European Parliament. And also, like now is that we're going to have parliament elections in Cyprus. What if they actually can nominate themselves and then this kind of crowdsource and the community chooses which they are going to be the elected, who are going to run with the party. So this is kind of, I don't know, I'm just thinking because this is a game that is disgusting. Fuck politics.
Yeah, for real.
So I'm just trying to find some new ways that organize the society better with not so much hate and division. I don't know. There's some interesting thoughts.
Yeah. Dude, this is why I fuck with you. You're cool. I like the way that you're thinking about this because I agree. Like, let's talk about the positives here because I think you said a really interesting and important point. This is the first time, I don't know, in the last 3 centuries at least, that you could really have direct democracy because we now actually have the technology to scale communication and coordination with blockchain and AI and the internet and free media, essentially, like you were a YouTuber. We actually have the technology to coordinate millions and millions of people to make decisions around things that affect us all. And I was actually having a conversation with my friend a few months ago, and I was like, if I ever get into politics, I want to do it the way that Phidias is doing it. Like, I love the fact that you are like, yeah, I'm not some political expert. I'm just an honest person who's transparent, and I want to share what's going on in parliament. I want to get your input and I want my vote to be as close to your input as possible. Like, that's what politics is supposed to be. It was never supposed to be, at least in America, it was never supposed to be like people are career politicians who start as a congressman and then they work their way up for 20 years and they have a bunch of lobbyists and then they try to run for president, and it's fucking weird, man. Like, that's not what politics is supposed to be. Politicians are just supposed to be proxies for the people's will.
I want to stop you and add something on that. Like, the system, how it's created, it filters only one certain type of person to be politician. Like the person that is in the suit, that they suck dicks for 20 years to get in that position. And it's like, it's just majority of it. And I don't have a problem. There are people like this and we should have representative democracy, but not everyone to be like that. So,
Yeah.
sorry, just adding.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think the vision of the founding fathers of America was you would have the best and brightest from society go do a tour of duty in politics, right? Like you go be successful elsewhere and then you come into politics, provide your service, and then you leave, right? Like, when you think about the founding fathers, like Benjamin Franklin, he was an inventor. Right. To the extent that he was involved in the founding and the crafting of the country, it wasn't like he was some career philosopher or politician either. He was just a smart guy who was resourceful and had accomplished things and got involved in helping democracy. Or a lot of the founding fathers, I forget which one it was. I don't know if it was John Adams or Jefferson or Madison or one of these guys. He actually, it might have been Madison. I forget. But he literally was an inventor. Like, he would like help with writing the, I don't know if there's the Federalist Papers or the Declaration of Independence, and he invented the chair that he was sitting in when he wrote it. That's what I want to see. So I actually like it that, for example, people complain about Elon being involved in government and it's like no one elected him. I actually think what he's doing is much closer to the founding fathers' vision, where you take people who are demonstrably the best and the brightest and they volunteer some of their time, whether it's as an elected representative or
like
someone
David Sachs, like a lot of people in the administration.
David Sachs. Exactly. Yeah. And so people, and this is a whole different topic with this hostility toward billionaires, but it's like, well, you want the most successful people in society helping to make society better, because after a point, they've won the money game. They need some purpose. We need some service. And we want them obviously to be aligned so that they're accountable and they're not taking advantage of the system. But that's actually the ideal. Like, you want the best and the brightest, and the best and the brightest often are not the career politicians. I'm sorry. They're often not the smartest. They're not the most accomplished. They haven't actually led.
Efficient is the right word. They're not the most efficient.
Yeah.
Like they are proven if you are a successful businessman, you are proven that you are an efficient person.
Yeah, like a lot of these people, they've never proven that they can do anything but get elected. So, I mean, like, and it doesn't even need to, you don't need to be like some, a tech founder. Like, for example, like you made a huge media audience and like you created this media empire around you and you figure out how to communicate in a way that people find valuable and people resonate with. And then you went into politics. Like you did something hard. I want people who have done something hard, ideally, getting into politics, not people who are getting into politics and then treating politics as some sort of reward or status symbol. So yeah, I think the incentives are messed up. I don't think we have the best and the brightest in politics. There's a few bright spots, but a lot of these people, I look at them and like, you're just not that effective as a human being.
Interesting. Well, you were going to touch on direct democracy and all this stuff, and I cut you. But I'm curious. Are you interested in politics to run for stuff? Be serious.
It's such a dirty game, dude. Like people say it a lot, like, oh, I should like run for some office, and I'm flattered that people see that potential for leadership in me, and I think. The way I view it is I have personal goals in my life. Like I want to start a family sometime in the next 5 to 10 years.
How old are you?
I'm 34.
Oh, I'm 24.
Oh, cool. Look at that. Wow. You got into politics so early too. Excited to see what you do with the rest of your life too, man. I'm focused right now on making enough money to start a family and have a great life. And I want to get into politics when I've already accomplished a bunch of other goals and I'm rich enough that I can't be bought. And I'm secure enough that I don't care what people say about me, right? Like Trump got into politics, in his late 60s, when he had already accomplished a lot. And I think that's actually a very powerful position to enter government from because you don't need anything from anyone at that point. So I'm open to it. I mean, if I really feel like I'm called to serve and I'm the best person for a particular role and I just need to, even though it's not the plan that I had for my life, then yeah. But otherwise, I would prefer to not get into it directly for at least the next 5 to 10 years.
But what are positions that you are that is interesting that you can be? It's like governor of Los Angeles, not the government of California. Like, how does this work? Like, what are the positions that are possibilities? I lived here in the United States for 3 years, but I still don't know exactly very complicated how it works, all the politics.
Mm-hmm. Well, president, obviously.
Oh, president, obviously.
Let's consider other options just for fun, right?
I like it.
Yeah. So the way government works here is, I think at the local level, most people think of the mayor as the highest, most authoritative position, and that's in your city. And then in your state, like California, you have governor, and then somewhere around there is senators. Like there's 2 senators per state. And then you have presidents at the highest level. And then there's a bunch of like councilmen and Congress people mixed in there. And for me, I haven't thought about it that much, man. It honestly just depends on what am I best equipped to help with and where am I needed. I do live in California. I live in LA. I've been here for 10 years, but I'm actually considering moving soon. Just a transition in my life, considering Austin actually, because I feel like a lot of the builders and geniuses are moving to Austin. And there's like a strong culture of American pride and independence there that's really attractive. But yeah, there's a chance I stay in LA. I kind of told myself, we just had the LA fires, which was a natural disaster with man-made aggravating factors. I think it didn't need to be as bad as it was. And I think that's a political and policy failing too. I kind of told myself, I only really want to be in LA if people are ready for change and they're ready to get rid of this deep blue, super leftist, by default way of governance. Then I would like to be a part of that change.
Do you think are they ready?
Damn, man, I don't know. It's like, I want them to be ready. I thought the LA fires were a clear enough sign to pay attention. Hey, something's fucked up here. But Gavin Newsom is even more popular. Our governor got more popular after the fires. somehow. I'm like, I don't get it. But I think most people, California is so Democrat, blue, left that I think people are like, oh, it's just climate change and things happen, and they don't know enough about politics to see all the different political failures, and they don't pay attention as closely to this stuff. So unfortunately, I think it's probably going to be business as usual in our next election here, but I'm hoping that people wake up enough because it's been getting worse. Like even before the LA fires, LA has been getting worse. Like people are moving, businesses are leaving. Homeless. Yeah, dude.
It's crazy. So it's kind of funny. We're talking about LA. So I was like a 20-year-old kid that I didn't know good English, and I wanted to become a YouTuber, and I moved to LA with only my bag, and I spent there for like 2 years, 3 years there, and I became whatever successful YouTuber, and I became around all these YouTubers that they are living in LA and all this stuff. It was very interesting to understand that, okay, it helped me because to get but LA is not that. It's not what it looks like in the movies. And I bought into it and moved myself there. It helped me for YouTube purposes because there is a network of other YouTubers and all this stuff, which is helpful to grow an audience. But yeah, it's not as cool.
Yeah. I was talking to my friend the other day, and we were talking, I was like, dude, I think there's a lot of mental illness in LA. There's just a lot of mental illness. And there's like kind of a deep sadness and emptiness here where you see it with a lot of the women, especially. Like every woman has some sort of work done and plastic surgery and all these things. And I'm not even judging it. I think, I've done things to try to look better, and everyone has ways of trying to just feel love for themselves. So I get it. But there's a culture of constantly trying to keep up an image. And I think a lot of confusion that's masquerading as freedom that is actually masking a lot of unhappiness. And I see it reflected in the women most. It's like a lot of lost people. So it's tough because I also love it.
I agree.
Yeah. Like
I'm happy to be in Europe now, back in my country.
Yeah. I've been in it for 10 years, man. And I'm like, wow, I feel like it's kind of stunted my development in ways. And now I feel like I'm coming more back to earth and what really matters. So.
But it's like to not victimize and all this stuff always is about the perspective that you have about it. Like you can be in LA and like live that you are in heaven and think that you are in heaven, have fun. And like it's all about the perspective that you are watching. Mm-hmm. The angle that you are watching life in. So it's not the biggest problem in the world to be in LA.
Oh, no, it's definitely not a problem. It's just a place with a lot of problems, and you got to be very intentional. Otherwise, you get caught up in it.
Yeah. We need to talk about the elephant in the room here.
Oh, shit. There's an elephant in the room? I didn't even notice it. Where's the elephant at?
My team was making fun of me because I wanted to make a podcast with you, and they said, "Oh, cringe! You guys, you learn about each other because you are both reposted by Elon Musk, and then this is how you learn from each other, and you are going to talk and have a podcast and talk about this." It's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird thing. Like I found about you from Elon Musk repost. And you probably found about me from Elon Musk post, right?
I don't think so. Actually, I mean, maybe. You know what I watched? I watched a really interesting conversation you had with Andrew Tate. Okay. It's really fascinating. Yeah. And I think he's an interesting guy. I think there's interesting perspectives, and he's just an influential person. So I was like, yeah, I want to see what conversation he has. And I was like, oh, who's this Phidias guy? And I liked your vibe. But I don't know if I saw you there or for Elon first, but yeah, I mean, we could talk about that. I have no issues. I don't think there's any elephant in the room around that.
No, I'm joking.
Oh, okay, cool. I was like, is this a problem?
No, bro. But I'm joking. It's kind of funny that both... and let's talk about him. It's interesting. Like, he reposts 150 posts a day. He put out tweets every 10 minutes. Like, how this is possible? How I have an assumption, like, is it possible to retweet this? He reads himself everything, and he retweets you, and he comments and like all this stuff. Do you think it's him?
You know what I think makes Elon Musk different that I think people have trouble really understanding? It's that he seems to value his time more than anyone on the planet. I think he's very keenly aware of how little time there is and how effective he needs to be. And that's why I think he's extremely quick with his decision making.
And he says time is the only currency, which I agree.
Yeah, and he I think it's pretty objectively true that he uses his time better than anyone on the planet. If you look at the fruits of the tree, it's like the fruits are pretty good. So I think a lot of it is like he sees something, he very quickly makes a decision about, do I agree or not? Is this smart or not? And he just sends it. And I think, he has some people who he has enough trust in their perspective that maybe he just like reposts their stuff without looking much into it. Cause he's trying to land us on Mars. So I don't expect him to watch every one of my videos, but I know he watches some of my videos cause he sometimes will actually say something about the repost, which I find flattering considering, how valuable his time is. But yeah, I think it's plausible that, yeah, he is literally sitting there retweeting everything. And as far as I can tell, he's working, he's doing something productive pretty much every minute of the day. But you think about it, like how much time do we waste scrolling and like not really making decisions when we're on social media? Imagine if you're there, like you immediately make a decision about everything you see and you take action on it. If you're doing that, it's like, yeah, it's not like he could, if you look at how much he consumes, I don't think it's like a lot more than the average person. I think he's just the average person. They're like, they read something, maybe they think about sharing with a friend. They're like, I don't know if my friend will judge me. I kind of had something to say. No, I'm not going to say it. Most people have all these thought loops that are wasting a bunch of time so they don't take action. It looks like he doesn't really have that. He's like, cool, this is my thought. Let's send it. And then sometimes he's spreading misinformation like we all do. And I don't
he gets fact checked on Twitter, which is funny, on X, which is funny. He gets community noted.
Yeah. And like, I don't think he's sitting here like, oh my God, I got community noted. Better spend all of my time reviewing everything I say. It's like, no, I think he's like a very quick, instinctive decision maker, and sometimes you miss, and directionally he's correct. And yeah, I think he probably does. I think, yes, he does do all of this himself.
You know what I think about this? Because I gave it this topic a thought, and I said, I think his Twitter account, his X account, is his, I don't know, is like his company. It's like he's treating this and it's like trying to infect with the right ideas the society.
Yeah, well, I think it's
he's trying to do this very intentionally, and he's running this in a very efficient way. And he tried to find other people that believes they're saying some interesting thing, and he support their message. And it's a very fast way to amplify it, like to have leverage over. I agree with this idea. I didn't have the time to make this video, but Kaizen did. Or I agree that we need to free Europe, and like he has did the video. He has like hundreds of people like that he tried to infect the society with the right ideas that he believed with.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. Like, I think, yeah, so, I guess I don't know how he originally found you, but you put out some ideas he resonated with, and then you resonated enough consistently. He was like, cool, I'm aligned with this person. I'm going to amplify their perspective. And he's done that with me too, which is cool.
No, it's not like that. It's very funny. I was a YouTuber, and I stayed outside X and in the beginning SpaceX for 69 days, sleeping in my sleeping bag until he agreed to hack me.
Are you serious?
And then after 69 days of me making videos every day to force him to give me a hug, he agreed after social pressure. So I gave him a hug like 2-3 years ago.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
And then probably, I don't know, he respected me because I am stupid. And then that's why he reposts and all this stuff. So it's interesting. It's a funny story I wanted to.
That's an amazing story. I had no idea. Because I saw the picture of you hugging him on your profile. I thought you had met after already knowing him. I had no idea that was like a goal that you made. That's amazing. But yeah, to your commentary, I think part of it is that, and I'm not huge on speculating on what's going on in people's heads. I have no fucking clue what's going on in his head. But
me as well.
What I would say is he was using Twitter a lot when it was Twitter just for fun. I think he just likes it. And people say this, oh, I get him. But I think I do have some things in common with him. One is I also really like video games. So people know that he plays a lot of Diablo. I played a ton of Diablo 2. I was really good at StarCraft, League of Legends, a lot of like hardcore games. And I think people who are into hardcore games like that, it's very easy for X to be a game for us. Like X has honestly replaced my desire to play video games because there's something about it where it almost feels like a game because it's more of like a social game, right? Like you have follower counts and you can go viral and you feel like you're building something. So part of it is, for me, it's actually really fun. And I like that X is kind of my job, I guess, partially. I like that I have fun sending out ideas that I think are important. And it has an addictive feedback loop as well that you got to be careful of. And that's why I take breaks sometimes. But yeah, I imagine he just also has fun using X. Like, it's really fun. It's like, and especially with politics now becoming overlapped with culture, it's entertainment at the same time. So you're learning stuff. You can be influential. People have amazing senses of humor. You're interacting with some of the smartest people in the world. So I think it probably serves a bunch of different utility functions in his life. I know it does for me.
Let's go a bit back. You said you were a life coach. Why are you trying to deviate from that? And like, it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, well, before I was a life coach, I actually worked in the video game industry. So I'm not new to career changes. I was actually, I produced League of Legends tournaments at Riot Games. So I led the world championship for a few years. And then I transitioned, I left the company, and then I actually came back a year later as a commentator. So I was an on-air commentator for League of Legends 2. Then I became a life coach. So I don't know, I guess I just grow and transform a lot. And life coaching has been really valuable, but I knew even getting into it, this is probably not my life path. This is just something that I'm doing right now. And I think the things that I got out of life coaching are a lot of emotional intelligence and the ability to see and connect with people, which I think is why I can communicate in a way that people receive well, even if I'm talking about controversial stuff. So I liked life coaching because I helped people solve the same kinds of problems and insecurities and confidence issues that I had. And it was making me a living as well. But now I just feel more called to use my gifts on a bigger stage. And life coaching, a lot of it.
Not individually, to do this at scale.
Exactly, at scale, exactly. And I feel, the journey into political and cultural commentary started when in 2023, I went to Egypt. And at that time, I was all into like spirituality and stuff. And I thought, I'm here to like find my past lives and learn how I was a pharaoh in a past life or some shit. And what actually happened was I was there the week after October 7th, the Hamas attack. So Egypt was like, 200 miles away from Gaza. I didn't know anything about Palestine or Israel or any of that stuff. But being in the region around the time of that happening was a huge wake up call because I realized, whoa, I've been in my little bubble focusing on my little whimsical life and the things I care about. There's much bigger game at play here. There's much more important things I could be doing with my life and with my talents. And I want to do that. So I didn't know I would be getting into politics. I mean, that happened a good 8-9 months later, but I just felt, hey, I know my talents. Like I know my ability to think clearly and critically and to communicate clearly and with intelligence and grace. I feel like I can help a lot more with that. And selfishly, it just feels right. Like I feel more aligned when I get something off my chest because that's how the whole journey started. Like when Trump nearly got assassinated, that was actually the day that I made my first viral reel. Cause I saw him nearly get assassinated and I felt something in my heart. My body just reacted. And at the time I was not on board with Trump. I still was like, I don't know about this guy. He's kind of toxic, all this stuff, all this, the ideas that I had. And in that moment, I was like, that was a real moment. Like that was real. And this guy is willing to die for something. And we're being told that he's the next Hitler. And I'm tired of the media telling us this, because I had known enough to know that there had been lying and smearing and exaggerating things for years. So yeah, I needed to get it off my chest, and I said it, and I got to see that really resonated with people, because I think I was saying things that people had been feeling, but either didn't know how to say or were scared to say. And that's what I care about right now. So I don't know where it'll go, man. Like, I don't know if I'll just be a commentator for a bit and then I go do something else. I don't know if I'm here to be more of a leader, or whether that's in politics or outside of it, but I'm just doing what my heart's telling me to do, man.
Well, this approach is the approach that I always take also in my life. Like to not have goals, I think is the best thing that you can do, because when you have goals, you limit yourself. So to be open to opportunities and just do what is fun around you, and like what you did with your career, changing career. Okay, I'm doing this now. I'm excited about this now. I think this is what. And I think also Elon Musk encouraged me with some quotes about this, like, don't be afraid to jump into new arenas. Like so it's interesting, this thing. And like, yeah, I think goals limit us ultimately.
Yeah, I think, it's good to have goals to give a direction. I think people just get so attached to them, not realizing that life is an endless process of evolution. And your goals are going to change as you understand yourself better. And sometimes people become so fixated on goals that aren't actually coming from them. They're coming from society. Like, I went to Harvard, and I'm glad that I went. It's a cool flex. I was really miserable there, though. And the real reason I wanted to go was because, I don't know, I thought it would look good. My parents really wanted me to go. They were immigrants from Ghana. It was their American dream. I just wanted something. I wanted to hit the high score, and that was it. Go to Harvard. And I was really lost there. And honestly, if my kid was accomplished enough academically to have that opportunity, I would be very careful. I'd be like, maybe you don't need to do this. Maybe you actually need to go on an adventure to find yourself and figure out what are you actually here to do with your life, rather than accrue more status symbols and shiny medals. So I agree that a lot of the time people, they create their goals from a mental place. It's not from a place of connection to oneself. And when you have a goal that's coming from a mental place, you can end up so far off your actual timeline and your actual track that you end up lost and confused, and you wonder, what the hell? I achieved this thing that was a goal, and I feel even worse. It's a bad place to be. I've definitely been there before.
I want to understand with your process of researching and using all these AI tools, and how do you come up with your ideas, your videos? How do you go about all this stuff? And it's very interesting, because now, like, things are changing. Like, for the first time, like, I'm influencing legislation. I'm like trying to do amendments to change the regulation in Europe and about this and this. It's like AI and ChatGPT and Grok and all this. They're super, super helpful. Like, for example, like my team yet is not, we're not doing our work with it. But like, for example, sometimes there is a 60 pages thing that I need to change and do today these 3 days we're in Strasbourg, and we voted about 600 fucking issues. How is possible in like less than 3 days to vote on 600 issues? It's like, it's a lot. And also I have a team of like 5-6 people, which is like, we don't have the capacity. Other people do it because I'm independent, and they have their group, their political group, that tells them exactly how to vote. But I don't like these things. I want to know exactly what I'm voting. We debate, and it's very fun learning experience for all of us. But it's like AI is like, I tell it sometimes, okay, this is a regulation, or this is and I'm from Cyprus. I'm a member of the European Parliament from Cyprus, that is a country in the European Union, and we have a problem with Turkey, because he invaded Cyprus 50 years ago. And I say, in this, propose some changes in this text that will affect, like Turkey, to condemn Turkey for what it did. And it's like, it gives you back. Okay, change this, 10 changes. And we did this 1 week ago, we did 10 changes to a text. 2 of them was with AI, which we liked. We liked the changes. And we said, well, why not? So we're entering into a different state in the world. So I'm just trying to understand this also. How do you, because you use it for research and all this stuff to make all these videos and understand. I'm also trying to understand your process.
Yeah. So first, before I talk about my process, I think it's great that you're using AI. And frankly, I don't know how the hell were people doing politics with these 1,000-page bills before AI? I mean, I think that the real elephant in the room is politicians weren't reading any of this stuff, and they were passing bills that they had no idea what was in them. They only cared about.
I think this is true. Not for everyone, but for the majority of the members, I think it's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's an impossible position. If you're voting on 600 issues, how can you be expected to have read all of them? So that's a more fundamental issue with, like, I mean, maybe I guess it's in the past, but we need to figure out how to use AI in government a lot. There's just way too much data, way too much complexity for a bunch of individual humans to be reading a bunch of bills and voting on 600 issues. But that aside, the way I use AI for my videos is, firstly, the way I view AI is I almost want to interact with technology as a cyborg. And what I mean by that is there's AI, but it's not a replacement for human intelligence. It's an amplifier of human intelligence. Because, actually I was using AI to create a sponsorship proposal, and I caught it making errors. And I was like, why is it making errors on simple stuff, by the way? Like, I would feed it a table and it would misread the data in a column, even though the data is right there. And I'm like, how is that happening? So I asked it, why are you making these errors? And it says, well, actually, the way that AI works is I operate on pattern recognition. So it's not like I'm processing every individual piece of data. Literally, I'm taking large sets of data, finding patterns, and using those patterns to navigate those data. That's kind of like how a human operates, right? We all operate based on pattern recognition. So I use it to basically, I see patterns, right? Like, I'm always paying attention to what's going on in the headlines on X, and I try to read information from both sides. Like, okay, here's a hot issue. How is the right reporting it? Okay, now how's the left reporting it? And I'll notice patterns and things that people are avoiding or not saying, or things where there's factual disagreements. And then I'll have a bunch of questions. Right. So let's talk about, for example, these deportations of pro-Palestine activists. Right. So the Trump administration is saying that they're Hamas terrorist sympathizers. The left is saying, no, they're just innocent activists. So I'll look for some questions. Like, for example, okay, what is the best argument on both sides here? Like, that's a very simple query you can start with. This person's being deported. What's the best argument for deporting them? What's the best argument against deporting them? And then I'll look at the argument and I'll say, okay, some of this is fact and some of this is interpretation. So I'll say, okay, people are saying that, oh, this person, they're affiliated with an organization. This is one person, Mahmoud Khalil. They're affiliated with an organization that's pro-Hamas. Okay, what does that mean? What's his relationship with the organization? Okay, is he a leader of the organization? What did the organization say? What did he say about his relationship with the organization? So the biggest thing is it's about just asking a bunch of questions until you feel like you actually understand the answer. And this is where self-awareness comes into play, because it's so easy to just use AI to confirm your existing bias, because you can do that. Like, you can literally just use AI to make the strongest argument to confirm your existing belief. And that's why you have to operate like a cyborg, because AI, it's not going to have intuition, right? Like, humans have the intuition about, it's like, yeah, something feels off. I feel like I'm not getting the full story here. Or, they're saying this thing about, I don't know, immigration stats, but like, is there some nuance here? Like,
questioning.
Yeah, questioning. Exactly. Quality questions. And the better your questions, the better the answer the AI gives you. So I'm a very curious person. That's one of my superpowers. Like, I ask very good questions. So and I'm very practiced at it because that's pretty much my what I do for a living as a life coach. Like I ask people good questions about themselves. So I can tell when it's like, I feel like I don't feel certain yet. I feel like there's something I'm missing, and I'll ask questions until I'm like, there we go. Now I really understand. And we can all sense it when we actually understand something versus we're just parroting something. But it requires enough intellectual humility to be like, yeah, I don't know. So let me ask questions until I know, or at least I'm pretty close to knowing. So yeah, but to make it really simple and practical, one of the best things you can do is just ask AI to summarize the best arguments for and against something. If you start there, at least now you're open to different stories, and you can try to make sense of it and see the gaps and inconsistencies between the stories.
So you do all this stuff yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm like always, especially, I made a commitment to myself. So I don't know how many days ago it was now, maybe 40 days. I'm going to put out a video every day. And my videos are a lot of work, man. I actually do all of it myself. I do the research. I do the scripting. I do the shooting. I do the editing. I do the posting. I'm not going to do that for too much longer. I'm building a new career for myself. So it's just a lot of time that I have to put in to get it off the ground. But yeah, I do it all myself.
I want, because one of my responsibilities as a member of the European Parliament is to, because you probably don't know this, but nobody cares about the EU. They care about local politics of countries like France or Germany, but the EU, nobody cares. If you walk in the streets of EU and you ask them how the EU runs, they will know have a fucking clue. So since you said you are great in questions, maybe you ask me 1 or 2 questions about how the EU works for me to do my job and explain to everyone. Because transparency to understand something, how it works, is very important.
Yeah, actually, I do have a question. So I heard about this Marine Le Pen situation. So she, as I understand it, she was a member of an opposition party to Emmanuel Macron, the current French president. And is it true that she got banned by the EU from running for president in France? So
I will try to explain. Also, this is news, but I have some inside information because she was in my position. Marine Le Pen, she was in my position, member of the European Parliament a couple of years ago, and the scandal was in the European Parliament. So what she did was, as members of the European Parliament, we have a budget that we can hire people to help us here in our work in the Parliament. She used that budget instead of hiring people to work here in the European Parliament for her work, and they were working for her local politics, the party politics in France. So she used these funds, and it's like it accumulates. If you do it for like 5 years, you have like $30,000 a month to euros a month to spend for your team and all this stuff. And when we're talking about like 5 years, that is your mandate, accumulates to, I don't know, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, something like this. So this is the criticism to this is what happened. And they said, you use the money, and this is corruption. And I think they have a law in France, and they've banned her for running in the elections. But for me, it's like, is that a reason to ban a person because he misused the funds of the European Parliament? Which I agree, it is a form of corruption. But banning the other person for running for president, I don't know. But I think the situation in Romania that happened, it's a lot more concrete that this is a scandal. It's an interesting thing. I don't know, but it's a recent news. This is what I heard from people that they were in this funding of the parliament, that they were giving the money. So it's an inside information from the European Parliament where the scandal happened.
Okay, thanks for clarifying. So just to ask a few more questions. So Marine Le Pen, she was in EU Parliament, but while she was in EU Parliament, she also had some government responsibilities in France.
No, how it works, you have a local party that elects you in France. Mm-hmm. So she was her people working. They were doing not for her work in the EU, her employees. They were doing more for the local party.
Okay,
so
got it.
This in France, which they are supposed to do more work for EU stuff. Okay. So that's kind of so. But you understand they're trying to find everything in their trick possible, similar to what they did with Trump and all this stuff, to attack because they're afraid. And if there is a way to ban the opposition, let's ban them. But I don't know. I'm actually okay. If they're corrupt, they should run for president. Well, I don't think you should stop someone because of this, especially I don't know. It's an interesting question. What do you think?
I mean, honestly, this sounds pretty technical. Like, it sounds like she did something technically wrong. It doesn't seem like some huge ethics violation. I mean, when we think corruption, you're thinking of, I don't know, someone using government money to buy hookers and cocaine, not like using EU money on like EU politics money on French politics money. And it definitely does not sound like something that only she did. It definitely does not sound like something that...
Definitely. Yes. And that's the problem. That's the problem I have, because you are not going to finding all these other people that they are doing, and you're just finding her. So it's selective punishment.
Exactly. Yeah. And on top of it being selective punishment, I heard that the ban from running for office, normally for that kind of violation, it wouldn't go into effect until after the appeal. After she has a chance to appeal. But the judges said something like, oh, because of the chances of protests, they're going to ban her immediately. Is that true?
I like the word this. I don't know. I love this word. I say it all the time. I don't know.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, if you don't know, you don't know. Yeah, that's what I read. I read in some article that they not only did they arguably selectively enforce this rule against her for something that does not feel like some major ethics violation, because at least all the money was staying in government and politics. It was like just moving from one pocket to the other. They also banned her before she got a chance to appeal, and they normally wouldn't do that. So yeah, to me, look, it smells like bullshit. It smells like what they did to Trump. Like with Trump, it was also a technicality. So I don't know how much you know about the thing that he was convicted of a felony for basically paying this porn star to not talk to the public about whatever they did or did not do. Yeah, that's happened in politics before. It happened to another politician, John Edwards, in the early 2000s in America. And yeah, he didn't get a felony charge. So yeah, it's like, and with Trump, they spent years and so much money, so much time to try to find anything. And that was actually one of the first wake up calls, because I saw that and I thought to myself, they spent all this time trying to look for some major corruption, and this is what they found? Paying money to a porn star? That's why they're trying to throw him in prison? And that's election manipulation? Give me a break. But most people, they don't look into the details. They just hear felony, he's a felon. That confirms their existing belief he's a bad guy. Now they have some justification. They don't care. And they just send it. And yeah, that's what I see happening in Europe, man. Like, I think it's actually even worse for you guys than it was for America. Because at least America, we got the First Amendment and we got guns. You guys don't have either of those things.
You know what's the problem with Europe? The problem with Europe is that it's very difficult to stop. It's not like we elect the president and then things are solved. So because also you have to understand that we have 27 different languages. So it's difficult to communicate inside Europe. Like my problem, like the communication between European countries, we don't have the common narrative. Okay, Trump did this. Who is our leader? Most of the Ursula von der Leyen, which is the top of the commission, nobody knows here kind of in Europe. Like maybe they heard of here. So it's very difficult so the only way to change the system, as far as I understand it, or is to vote the right leaders, but the majority of the member states, like to vote cool leaders that will change things. But that's 1/3 of the power of the EU. The Parliament, the European Parliament, has the 1/3, and then the Commission has the. So it's a lot of things need to change. Even if you elect in 27 member states the right leaders, still a lot of things need to change. So that's the way of the EU, how it works. It's very difficult. So one of the things that this is, okay, how do we fix Europe? The only thing that I found, the path to fixing Europe, because we have problems. Okay, we are, if we step back, we are better every day. We're having the best, 100 years ago, it was way worse. 50 years ago, it was way worse. We were doing well. But relative to other countries, I'm talking about, relative to our potential, I'm talking about now. So our, Ursula von der Leyen just trying to talk with Trump, and Trump doesn't accept, ignores her. It's we are Europe, and Trump, United States, we are the biggest allies in a way. Also, we've been saying that Putin is the enemy for 4 or 5 years. We cannot have diplomacy to speak with our people, to find common grounds and solve issues that people are dying in Ukraine, all this stuff. So I think we lost a lot of credibility as Europe, and we're not in a very good leadership hands that to take this back to our hands. But it's very difficult to change. So the only way to change that I thought about is kind of a crazy idea to fix Europe is so how you create a party, political party, in every country in Europe. I'm from Cyprus. For example, let's say I was going to create this direct democracy party and go to the next parliament elections. But you need to do that in every European country. And because I'm not from there, it's hard for people to resonate from there. But you need to create a party in every European country and get a lot of MEPs, members of the European Parliament, 200, 300 out of the 720, elect from all these countries, and then have the majority here in the parliament, and then you can really affect stuff. But because now everyone has their own, it's a bit weird, confusion, 27 language, there are a lot of different issues and all this stuff. So the way that the EU works is I've been for 8 months here, and I feel the last month I came to understand how. But I live, breathe here. I ask a lot of questions. So the last month I started understanding how a bit the system works. So imagine if me explain to you or the citizens to one change. How do they get it? How do we get it if we don't know the path? So it's interesting, the situation that we're in.
That's interesting. Yeah, as you're talking, I guess I just don't understand why the EU exists. Why not just have a bunch of different European countries like it used to be?
That's an interesting question. That's an interesting question, but I'm trying to argue myself with this question. And I interviewed also Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage was the person responsible for the UK to leave the EU. And are they better now? But I think in a world where you have, for example, United States, China, all these, India, Russia, it's an opportunity for you to matter more. For example, I'm in a country with 1 million population. It doesn't, we don't fucking matter. Because nobody cares about us. So it's a way for united, we are stronger in the right way. So this is the argument between, but all these technicalities to be it's very difficult to have a common European foreign policy, to have all this stuff. So it's very difficult. So yeah, I'm conflicted in this argument, but I think the EU is net positive, not a negative. I don't know.
Okay. Well, it's good to hear at least that. And as I hear you talk, it's in America, I think we're having a spiritual problem. And I don't even mean this in the God sense. I'm just talking, well, we have that too, but I'm talking about this a national spirit, a national pride, national identity. And at least we all recognize, yes, we are all Americans and we're one nation, right? One nation we're all in this together. Although I think that sense has been lost. But in Europe, I don't get the sense that, French people feel yeah, we're Europeans, and Germans are yeah, we're Europeans. I think that's part of it. It's like the population needs to be bought into this. Hey, we're all European, and that feels like the first thing to tackle. And so
the only people that call us European is from the outside. We don't consider ourselves European.
Exactly, right? It's like we're just on the same continent. We're not Europeans, right? I don't think it's just weird to think of like Polish people and French people are like, oh yeah, we're brothers. So that feels like the most important thing to start with. And actually, now that you mention it, I could see how actually I think the whole like Putin is, trying to take over the world is Hitler stuff. I think it's way overblown. I think it's ridiculous. But I could see how it's appealing because it gives Europe a common enemy. It gives Europeans something to rally around. It's like, all right, we're
divide and conquer.
Yeah, right. So you guys are divided until someone tries to conquer you. So now I was like, oh, Putin's trying to conquer us. I don't think he's trying to, but even the perception that he is actually, that's something unifying, having a common enemy. And I could see how
I never thought about that, but it's an interesting thing. Maybe it's an interest to make everyone feel that we are attacked by Russia. It gives you a sense of belonging in a way. It gives you that you are in this team.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then that gives European politicians a reason to consolidate power and say, hey, he's threatening all of Europe, so we need to concentrate more power, more military power, more financial power in the EU structure, not the individual nations. And whether you think that's good or bad, I'm always skeptical of more centralized authority, but that would be a very strong reason and an incentive to actually continue to paint this Russia bad narrative. It's actually,
bro, like you cannot imagine. I'm so happy that Trump was elected for only this reason. Like it forced us to Europe to start thinking like with the negotiations in Russia and Ukraine. Like Biden kept funding the war, keep sending weapons, and it's like for what? Russia is winning even with the Europeans and the United States is getting everyday territory. And not only that, like it's very nuanced, like you're saying, this conflict is like there is a lot of people there that they were having problems being in Ukraine and they were oppressed by the Ukraine authorities and like they were forced not to speak the the Russian language, their mother tongue in schools. Everyone was speaking Russian, and then they were forced to read books in Ukrainian. Like this is ridiculous. It's like it was a lot of things like this that we don't really know about the problem in Ukraine, but also that NATO, like now Rubio, like the Secretary of Defense of the United States, says that it was a proxy war. It's crazy that we provoked this. The Europeans and the United States provoked this war to happen. So I'm very happy that now Trump came and like kind of put an end to this narrative that Russia is bad, and now the Europeans kind of were in shock. Like now oh my God, we are not in the table of negotiations. Maybe we need to change. Maybe we need to do that. So it's a step in the right direction. So I think this for politics in Europe, it was very useful for Trump that got elected to shake the narrative of let's keep funding Ukraine until we win the war in the battlefield.
Oh man, it's so refreshing to hear that from a European. Because over here I'm sitting here like I haven't heard a good argument for why Russia is America's enemy. I haven't heard a good argument for why we need to be funding this war in Ukraine endlessly. And even though it's very clear, no matter how much money we give them, they're going to lose. I'm not clear on why I'm being told that this is some great struggle of good versus evil and Russia's going to take over Europe and then America's next. I think it's insane. I think it's absolutely insane. And when Zelensky came to the U.S. and had that disastrous press conference.
What a meeting, huh?
Yeah, like I was like, dude, this guy, he's so bought into this narrative.
But you know what's the problem with him? Like now he's a very difficult position. Like now he kept funding the war and bought into this narrative, trying to buy the UK also to them, the Europe. So now he is wanted also in his own country. So he doesn't have options. Like people in his country, a lot of people don't like him, so they want to kill him. I don't know. So I think he's fighting more for his life and his survival as a person, not for his country. Maybe this is a controversial thing to say, but he's in a very bad spot.
Well, certainly the incentives are there, right? Like they suspended elections until the war is over, meaning that at minimum he stands to lose power once the war is over. At maximum, he stands to lose his life once the war is over. So I'm not saying anything about his personal morals, but yeah, there are very strong influences that want to keep the war going. He's not the only influence who could have an incentive to keep the war going. And I think we just need to be honest about that. I mean, before the war, he was an unpopular president. I think his approval rating was somewhere in the low 30s. He was not some popular president. And
I want to stop you because he got elected. If you see the elections map, he got elected. He was Russian speaking. He got elected mostly from the Russian speaking close to Russia because of the message of peace. People after 2014, what happened, the kind of civil war that happened, it was a problem, and people were wait. I don't want to fuck with politics anymore. Let's vote for peace. And because Zelensky showed that I want to speak with the Russians, I want to do stuff, so people voted him for peace, and he did the exact opposite. Like I'm not saying that he started the war and all this stuff. Also, Putin is not good. Putin is not good. I'm just saying America was greater evil when they did this, and Putin is evil. So it's not with the government of Biden and all this stuff. So that.
Yeah, and as I understand it, he was pushing to be put into NATO, and Biden publicly announced that he's open to them joining NATO. So even if Putin is evil, you gave Putin plausible reason to invade now.
Yeah.
You just gave him a reason. And then on America's side, we had a weak president who was not going to step in. Like, what's Biden going to do? Right. I don't think Putin does that if Trump's around. But with Biden around, like, what's he going to do? So, yeah, there's all sorts of really bad incentives. And as I said earlier, I think this is fundamentally about a lot of disconnected politicians who are not serving the people versus the people. And I think Zelensky, I very much got the perception, and now we're getting into speculation about how he's behaving in his head. So I don't like doing that, but just so we're here, he views himself as some sort of hero, martyr figure in this great struggle of good versus evil. And I listened to him on the Lex Friedman podcast, and I saw him at the press conference. Like, this is not a guy who's trying to make peace. He's not. And it's complicated,
saying,
right?
Okay, Putin will die and then we're going to have peace.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck is that? Like,
he's not talking like someone who's trying to make peace. He's not talking like someone who even knows how to make peace. He's talking like someone who views the world in black.
I'm disappointed because the fucking members of the European Parliament were all here in this building, 720. The majority of them, they vote to keep funding this war and to keep this, and like, they force this narrative with the media and all this stuff, and like the people actually, I don't think they want there is polls that show that Europeans don't want this to keep going and to keep funding, but the politicians are doing the exact opposite of what the will of the people.
And that's what I'm saying, Matt. This is happening in so many places. It's so frustrating. Like, it's. From what I'm hearing you say, it sounds like he's becoming increasingly unpopular in Ukraine. If that's true, then yeah, the Ukrainian leadership's not serving the Ukrainian people. The European leadership's not serving the European people. We haven't talked about Israel-Palestine, but the majority of Israelis don't approve of what Netanyahu is doing, bombing all these kids. So it's like, all I see is politicians who are not serving their people. And somehow they can't seem to figure out any kind of calculus that doesn't result in more war. And to me, it's like, it's just very clear. Like for me, I voted for Trump, but if we start more wars, like if in 4 years was more war, not less, or even an equal amount of war, I will consider Trump a failed president. To me, that's just a non-negotiable. If you're getting us into more wars, fuck that. That's not good leadership.
And the United States caused 100 wars the last 200 years, 200 years. So,
we're constantly
with the Europeans as well and NATO. So we're not out. So.
Yeah. And you know what it is? It's this colonial mindset that is being hidden under the guise of defense. At least in the, like 16th, 17th century, it was honest. People were like, yeah, we want land. English, the Spanish, Portuguese were like, we want land. We're taking your civilization. At least people knew what was up, right? And you could be like, I'm opting into that or opting out. But now it's like the same thing, but they're pretending it's for defense. And I'm personally tired of it. I see right through it. And I think Trump was an answer to that. That was actually one of the most appealing things about Trump. I was like, look, all this other stuff aside, one thing is very clear. There was more peace when Trump was president. Period. He didn't start any new wars, and he got us out of the Middle East. He got us out of Afghanistan. I know it happened during Biden, but he's the one who signed a deal. He brokered this peace treaty in the Middle East. There was peace, and I think that's a pretty good marker of good leadership. Are you creating more peace or not?
Which is very important in the world that we're living. But I want to take a step back of all this stuff and ask, are these topics, because I was a YouTuber before and I was always intellectually trying to understand, learn about science, history, philosophy, this politics stuff, it's very interesting. It's very interesting because about how to govern the world, what is happening. So it's so fun to discuss about these topics. I see the same passion that you have as well about this.
Yeah. So actually at Harvard, I studied philosophy. I wasn't a very good student. I didn't really go to class. I played video games mostly. But I did get a degree in philosophy because it was the thing I was most interested in. And this is actually the first time in my life that I feel like I'm getting to exercise my more philosophical side as a career. Because ultimately, this is really about deeper questions of what is life about and how do we live good lives? And I think that's what philosophy answers well. So, yeah, I think, there's a lot going on in the world. I find it a very exciting time to be alive. It's such a fascinating time psychologically and philosophically. And ultimately, I'm a firm optimist. I believe in the human spirit's capacity to overcome anything. And I think there are many people with clear minds and full hearts who are trying to do the right thing. And I think good wins in the end, even though it's scary. So I agree, man. This is an exciting time, and I am passionate about this.
So I have another 2 questions.
Yeah.
First of all, how did you find our conversation?
I loved it, dude. It was more like, it was the most conversational that I've ever had at a podcast. So a lot of time the podcast is almost like being on a news show. It's like kind of like, there's like this underlying formality. But when you started cursing, I was like, all right, cool, we're chill. Let's have a conversation. So it was fun. And I just like your energy. Like, I think to just reflect back on you for a second, I was excited when you invited me because when I watched you in your interview with Tate, for example, I was like, oh, this guy's just real. He's just an authentic, like you're just real. Like you're just expressed, you're alive. And I think it's no surprise that the people of Cyprus elected you as a representative because you're not here pretending that you're something that you're not. You're comfortable with not knowing things. You're trying to learn. And we need more of that in the world. Like, I think so many people have gotten used to the fake nonsense in politics and leaders, and they always say the same things, same language, talk the same, dress the same. And that's not what public servants are supposed to be. They're supposed to be a reflection of the public. So I have enjoyed this conversation a lot, man.
Well, I learned a lot of things. And I will go for my last question, but sorry for guys watching us. This is live. We are going to hear this. Whenever you come to fucking Europe, come. I want to show you the parliament to hang out here. It will be cool. If you come in the next 3-4 years here in Europe in the parliament. Here we're in France and in Brussels. So we have 2 parliaments. It's very weird. We have 2 parliaments and we move from one to the other. And like 15,000 people move from France to Brussels. And you know why we have this? Because both of countries needs to get money uh, of the people that are surrounded the ecosystem of the parliament. So madness.
Yeah, it's so inefficient. What a waste of money. But yeah, I would love to check out Parliament. It's been a few years since I've been to Europe, so thanks for the open invitation.
It's good. And I ask every person that I have on the podcast, you are going to die in 30 seconds. What do you want, if you actually die, to be the last word in this planet?
It's all going to be okay.
Thank you guys for watching until the end. I love you.